got to play that on precision, right? I grew up in Detroit, and from a very, very early age was exposed to heavy doses of Motown. I'd say probably on the pop stations, every other record in the mid-1960s was a Motown record. And they were all bass-centric. What James Jamerson did as a bass player is just, it's so radical. See, he's what Robert Johnson is to, you know, guitar playing, and really the whole arrangement structure of a rock and roll band. James is to the electric bass because he's playing percussion. He's playing melodies, and he's holding the groove down. And I guess I saw some pictures, you know, and so I knew he was playing at precision. So that's really the only bass I've ever played. David Was and I started the band Was and I Was back around 1979, 1980. And we started making records, and they were very kind of cult records they were based really around the bass lines and these funk grooves with these very different lyrics on top of them. And suddenly we found ourselves signed to a big label in the United States who had trouble. They said, well, you're two white guys, and you know, it's R&B music. We don't know how to sell this. Your singers are black guys, but they don't write the songs. What kind of band is this? I said, you're supposed to ask that. That's a good thing, you know. What kind of band is this? I've never seen anything like it. That's a plus, but it's not a plus. It wasn't a plus in 1980 from a marketing standpoint. So they wanted us to get white singers, or David and I leave the band, for real. And we refused to do that, and they put us on suspension. And they put us on suspension for 3 years. And during those 3 years, we weren't able to play or make Was Not Was records, so I wasn't able to eat. And finally, Gary Gersh, actually, who used to work out of this building, hired me for my first American gig. And he said, well, wait a minute, you write and you produce and you play, but you're not the front guy, so you could do that for anybody, right? So he hired me to produce a singer named David Lastly for EMI. And that was my first American production job in 1983. Really, one of the dangers that an instrumentalist faces as a producer is that you get very carried away with what you play. And if I'd really gone back and studied those Motown records, I would have realized that, yes, there's this amazing bass line, but the focus is always on the singers and the songs.
Charm the heart of a lady.
C sharp, D, C sharp.
L-E-P-T-A.
I think it's a danger that a lot of people face, like, check out the part I'm playing, and you bring that way up, and you don't focus on the singers and the songs. And I thought early on with Was Not Was, we had great singers, and we certainly had cool lyrics, which I didn't write, David wrote. But I was tending to throw all these little details in, like, because I was influenced by George Clinton and Frank Zappa. And I was really making records for, like, Stevie Wonder and 11 other people who could notice all these details in the mix. And the lesson was really when I produced Nick of Time for Bonnie Raitt, which had none of the bells and whistles around it, no crazy stuff panning left to right, no. But the singer, so close, it felt like she was in the room with you. And that's the thing that people responded to. This one particular bass has a marvelous story to it. In the early 90s, in 1993 in fact, I was producing the Rolling Stones' Voodoo Lounge album. And we were doing overdubs up at a studio which I had in my house here on Mulholland Drive. And Fender made Keith a Strat, and came up to my studio, the Chomsky Ranch up on Mulholland, right? And Keith played the guitar. He said, I love it. He said, but I'm telling you right now, I'm never going to play it live because it looks like I'm in a wedding band. It's all new and shiny. So I'm looking around the room, and we kept the microphones in this armoire that I'm sure was made 2 years earlier, but it looked like it was a couple hundred years old. I said to Jay, look, man, if they can antique the armoire, why can't you antique a guitar? So about a year later, he comes up my driveway unannounced, and he says, here, I got something for you. I made you this bass. And this is in appreciation for that conversation we had where you gave me the idea for the Fender Relic series, which has been quite successful for us, so thank you. I've used this bass on, I played with Bob Dylan, with the Stones. I played bass in some tracks. Oh, Willie Nelson, a really cool Willie Nelson album called Across the Borderline. I used it on that. To me, this is the original electric bass. This is electric bass is about this. Kind of everything else. There are other interesting basses, but to me, they're deviations from the original thing. This is still the mainstream of playing the bass because it's got it all in there. It's got this rich, low bottom end, and if you play it right, it's got this great attack on the top, and it'll ring if you want it to ring, and if you know to take your fingers off the neck, it'll give you air too. So I know he called it precision because you could be precise in your intonation. You had a lot of room to come down on the note, but it's also precise in the note while still giving you a real warm low-end cushion. Custom Shop's an amazing asset to call upon, and they've been first of all, from making the bass that I use, to begin with, to just helping keeping it up, and they take real good care of it. This is it.